Hey, everybody, this is Christian Buckley doing another MVP Buzz Chat, and I'm talking today with Pierre. Hello.
Hello. Nice to meet you, Christian.
It's nice to meet you as well. And, a mutual friend, a former MVP, that kind of introduced us and said he's like, Noah Sparks, those that know Noah, good friend. It's like, you got to interview him. So, like, okay, let's get him in there. So, for folks that don't know you, who are you, where are you, and what do you do?
So this is very complicated because my first name is Pierre Yves,
Pierre Yves.
not Pierre, Pierre Yves,
Ah,
and my
okay.
last name is Delacote. I'm French. I'm also a US citizen now. And I moved here 6 years ago, and I'm working for a company called Planet Technologies, and I build the OCM practice. So basically, my job is to help users to take the value of the technology, not for what the technology is, but for what it can help them for. So, pardon my French, as I usually start my meetings. Probably hear my French accent, and maybe I make some grammatical mistakes. But I'm really into helping people. That's serving people with the technology so they can understand how they can leverage it for their job, for their life. So changing their life with technology is really my passion.
Yeah. No, that is awesome. I do have to ask before we get started about the phrase "pardon my French." You know how Americans use it, right?
Yeah, yeah, and I'll
Are,
explain.
are the
I can.
French offended by that? Like,
So, yeah, I investigated that because I was wondering why do you say that? And in fact, it's a very interesting story. Back in the days, a few centuries back in England, it was very good to speak French in high society. It was a mark of the French culture, French Renaissance,
well, if you also look
things
at the
like that.
lineage of the families of royalty, there was a lot of
Yeah,
back and forth there. So yeah,
yeah, and so they were proud to speak French, and then they started to fight with French, but they were still talking French because they learned French in when they were speaking between them in high society.
Mhm.
And so it became, oh, pardon my French, I spoke French, pardon my French. And this is original reason why you use this sentence. There's no other reason. Maybe when we speak French it sounds like cursing, I'm not sure, but it doesn't seem like that. But the true story, at least the one I found,
You
was
heard, yeah. Well, that's great. And so this is a great. I know that we're seeing more and more new MVPs that are coming on with the Copilot focus, but there's a lot of aspects to that. Do you like focus in on any certain aspect of Copilot, like, and then what are the types of contributions that you are most commonly are known for, like writing, videos, speaking at events, things like that?
yeah. So I'm focusing on adoption. So basically is to help people to understand, especially the Copilot mindset you need to have. This is a big change. I've never seen that in my life. It's really, you need to reset your mindset. And so I'm doing a lot of videos. I have a YouTube channel. I have probably 800 videos now on my YouTube channel, and 200 are dedicated for Copilot. Just to frame this, Copilot is a constant learning. It's the pace of change is so impressive. So I published a lot of videos there, and I published a lot of LinkedIn articles. And it can be guides, it can be just awareness about what's going on. But we always the focus on how is it useful, and I try to make it in a way that is not a tutorial. It's more, I have a pain. How can Copilot help me there?
Yeah.
So that's my approach, and with my French accent, I try to do my best, and it has been a journey. I started my YouTube channel, I think in 2021, something like around COVID, and it was very very low, and suddenly it raised, and especially around Copilot when I started to do Copilot videos,
Mhm.
because I started my YouTube channel to talk about change management, because this is my specialty, is to explain, it's a methodology. You need to understand some aspect of the change management to be successful in any transformation. So I started with that because that was my background. Even if I worked at Microsoft for 11 years, but when I was in France, but then I understood the culture of the US, where you need more pragmatic things, or how to do things. So I started to shot some videos around first around teams, and now I'm full blast on Copilot because this is a big change. And so I try to share my knowledge and with some perspective on use cases, how it can be beneficial for people.
Yeah. We're so I've been involved with some adoption projects. I was doing training with a global brand and doing a lot of workshops for them. And so I've got some experience in this. I'm interested in your perspective, doing this, full time, focusing on this area and building out the practice. Like, where do people struggle the most?
Oh, they struggle a lot. So that's the first statement. They struggle a lot because it's really, as I said, it's a change of mindset. So there are several traps. The first one is when a customer is deploying Copilot without any prep, any education,
Mhm.
people are trying it, and I will say 50% of them are going to say, this is not working. This isn't worth it. It's not working. It's not doing what I'm expecting, because they're expecting, a lot of time, they're expecting miracles. Like, this is ChatGPT made a lot of buzz. It was a big leap. And now people are trying it on their data, and then it's not successful. So often it's a lack of education. As I usually say, if it's not working, there's 4 reasons. The first one is probably you, because you don't master how to use Copilot, because you don't know how to prompt. The art of the prompt is very important. The second reason is because of your data. Your data might be a mess, so Copilot is confused. Which file should I use? They all have the same name, or there's so many duplicates, or it's spread all around. The third element of where you can fail is because of Copilot have some bugs. So it's still nascent technology. So you need to adjust and figure out, if it's coming, if it's going to be better in the future. And the last one is OpenAI, because the LLM has hallucinations. So you need to understand this mindset. And this is really new. When you were using Teams or Outlook or SharePoint, it's predictable. It's for engineers. People understand, if I click here, it's going to do that. When you're prompting the same prompt twice, you don't have the same result. So you need to be comfortable with that. It's a very different approach, because you need to be comfortable with failure. You need to be comfortable being able to judge what comes out of Copilot, being critical. You need to develop your critical thinking. So as you can see, it's not just about knowing the technology by itself. Knowing how to use Copilot is pretty simple. But knowing how to detect when it's hallucinating, where I should use it, where it's beneficial, it's a total different story. So that's what's unique with Copilot. It's totally a different world where you need to change the way you're going to work. And even me, when I started, I was expecting so much that I tried it and I said, oh, what's this mess? It's not, answering my questions. It's not doing a right job. And still sometimes, especially on search, when I search for information, doesn't do a good job. Part of it is me. I recognize I still have to improve in the way I'm prompting, but part of it also is some limitation today with what we call the context, not enough information to be able to surface whatever you want. So it requires another approach where you need to structure better your information. You need to think about that. You need to think, what I call the governance, how you organize the information, not just as an individual, but as an organization. And also you need to learn how, not to be comfortable. This is a game of not being comfortable with what the output is. So you need to be able to deal with that. It's not easy for a lot of people. But when you compare the frustration that happens very often at the beginning, you have a lot of frustration at the beginning, to the benefits you have with some practice. To me, the key word with Copilot is practice. It's like gym, going to the gym. If you just going to the gym for 1 week and expect to be, I don't know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, there's no way. So You need to practice and practice and practice because it's a constant learning. You need to learn. I have a colleague who explained that you need to consider Copilot as an intern. So you don't
Right.
trust fully an intern.
You know what? That's why I always say that. I think that the Copilot branding is brilliant. It's not the pilot. It's not doing it for you. It's there. It's the trust but verify. There, you can give it commands, but you have to provide the oversight of that to make sure,
Exactly.
is this the right thing?
You're responsible.
Right.
You're in charge. So,
Right.
and I've seen so many customers. I don't know how many, probably over 50 working on Copilot, and there's some resistance in all the places. Management, I've seen management saying, I cannot trust my team if they're using Copilot because it's not them. Uh, and I've seen people saying, I don't want to tell other people I'm using Copilot because they're going to give me more work. So it's it's funny to see all the reactions,
Yeah.
and just by implementing Copilot in the work, and obviously also Copilot is very beneficial. I use Copilot all day long.
Yeah.
The
Me
free
too.
version, the consumer version for my personal usage, it's very beneficial. I just want to deliver an anecdote that happened this week. So my wife wanted to redo our living room, repaint our living room, and she figured it out by herself because I said, this Copilot, you should try it. And she took a picture and of our living room, and she said, "Oh, please paint it in that color, make it modern." She
Yeah.
even bought frames because she wanted to put frames on
Yeah.
the wall, and she asked, can you tell me the distance I need to put in between each frame? And she got it. She found our use cases, and now she's hooked to it.
Yeah.
And it was super successful. She showed the picture to the painter, and so he could understand what she wanted.
Yeah.
So there's an
And you can be very specific too. You can actually give like the color code on that. It will be
yeah.
the color as well. I know.
It's open to your creativity. I think if you're creative, this is an empowerment tool I've never seen. I used recently, what I use the most is Copilot Story, because you can just prompt in the create function of Copilot. You can just prompt, what is your story? And I often do that on documents because I write a lot of documents. I say, summarize this document in a story. And the visual it creates is really powerful. And the visual is way more powerful most of the time than just a bunch of text that that nobody's going to read.
Right.
So it's really an enabler to your creativity. It gives me more ideas because it does a very good job to summarize my ideas. So yeah, I'm definitely I'm addicted. I'm really addicted, and that's the passion I'm trying to transmit to my customers.
You brought up before, or like early on, you were talking about how one of the places where people stumble is like they treat it as search. So there's a radio program that I listen to every morning. Been listening to them since they for 23 years. No, wait, longer than that. Is it almost 30 years now? Oh my gosh. Anyway, still some of my favorite guys. And one of them discovered Chat GPT, and it's like, oh, it was telling the other one about it. This was like months ago, kind of came on late, but was talking about how frustrated he was. He was using it like search, and he was disappointed with the results. And I found myself like kind of shouting at the radio, listening on my phone, but shouting at like no, you're making these mistakes about it. And the other guy who was an experiment is like, he says, I think you're using it in the wrong way. And he started to go through, it's like what I've read, and he started bringing up this other stuff. And so just their conversations, and every couple of days, he was like, how's it going with your learning about AI? He's like, I think I'm getting it. I understand, like I'm using it in a different way. And so I feel like, when you have people like that, like they are constantly reading and informing themselves and studying on different topics and going deep dive into that. And most people, they'll use it the wrong way, not get the result. And unfortunately, then it kind of, they give up on it. It kind of wrecks their perspective on, no, I tried it. It didn't work for me. It's like, yeah, you were doing it wrong, or you were using, you weren't looking at it and you weren't seeing the full potential. But so I think you're spot on. Like that's like the number one problem.
And you raise an excellent point, because what I want to say here is, what is key also, not just practicing, it's what I call collective intelligence. You need to share those findings, how it
Mhm.
works well for you, so people can understand this mindset you need to have. They can understand where it's beneficial for other people, so they can figure out where it can be beneficial for them.
Yep.
So sharing is very important. Sharing your successful prompt or user use cases, why it was beneficial, teaching people, how to use it, where to use it, because there's so many ways you can use Copilot that's not going to work. Some people try to do that in Word, where it's better to do in Copilot Business Chat. So it's by sharing those insights, and that's what I'm doing with my customers. I'm sharing some insights on where it works well, and the best use case I have is not the one I built. The best use case I heard are coming from my customers.
Yeah.
It's and because it's applied in their job. It's I there was an example that was very interesting. I was working with healthcare, and I was interviewing a person in healthcare, and the person was responsible uh, to manage forms, paper forms. So she received a picture of a paper form in their email, and she had to treat every pictures and retype everything in Excel. And just by discussing like that with her, I said, "Do you know the capability of Copilot to analyze a text, an image, and give you the text? You could use that to retrieve the text and feed Excel with that." And that was a big shot for her. That was, oh wow, a wow moment, where she said, "Oh, I find my use case." So it's by having this dialogue with people, or that triggers ideas, and that triggers not just, I'm triggering the idea for them, because I know the technology, so I see where the technology can help them, in what use case. But I need first to have this discussion, and I think that's another problem I see is IT in general. I don't want to be too harsh on IT, but they have a hard time to discuss with the business. They have the hard time to understand what they're doing, and that's why I'm coming, because I have both sides of the
Yeah.
spectrum here. I know how to talk to people in technology, in IT, and I know how to talk to people in business, and I'm trying to connect the dots. So when I talk with users, business users, I'm trying always to understand where they're struggling. And a good tip, if the audience want to try it, is to ask people what they hate to do in their job,
Yep.
and then you see if Copilot can help them. And if a Copilot can help them, you find their why Copilot. You
Yeah.
find their,
It, it,
haha moment.
it feels like sometimes it feels like you're tricking people into that, but no, it really is. It's like when you're a new hire, one of my favorite things, new job come in, is you even ask the person if you're going to get the job, you're talking with your new boss, you say like, where are areas where I can get some quick wins? Do you have these pains? What can I do like in the next week, the next 30 days to make your life easier? They'll give you a list of things out there. And it's kind of the same thing. If you can go in and identify, and this is I've been focused on productivity, for the last 20 years, and collaboration and productivity solutions. And so if you can take away that pain, so they could go focus on the things that are of high value, are more important, and not do this data, whether it's like data entry automation, or whatever that thing is. Yeah, you're right. They'll be like, it'll suddenly click with them. Oh, hey, there's also this other thing where it's like, it's not that I hate it, but it just takes a lot of time. I see where that might be able to now automate. That's a lot of the conversations I have around agents now, where it's starting to resonate with people. Oh, okay, this will go and run. Or like the new project manager agent, the idea of being able to assign tasks if you've, of course, if you've got the right license and planner to be able to use it. But
Mhm.
again, uh, I think people are starting to see the future of this. It's not. I always say that Copilot, AI in general, is not going to take away jobs. People who know how to leverage AI will take your job. So you need to know how to utilize the technology so you can focus on the important things.
Yeah, AI should be a skill.
Right.
It should be in your job description. There's no way that I wrote a post recently on to project people. Let's imagine we're in 2050 and how we look back, how we work in 2020,
Yeah.
and you can see right now that the way I work today is very different than the way I worked a year and a half when I didn't have Copilot. It changed my life. You mentioned the agent, but for me, the one that everybody should try is researcher. With
Yeah.
researcher, I do uh, you know status update for an entire project, and I did that for a customer who was very impressed because we recorded all our meetings. We have the meeting notes. So I asked researcher surface all our meetings, go everywhere and structure the output of this project, the low light, the highlights. And I gave a structure, I explained, and it came back with a super nice report to the point that the customer decided to take the report, even if there were mistakes. But he realized the value was higher than the mistakes, so
Yeah.
he curated the mistakes and he shared the report with the leadership team. So because it was such impressive for him he was a PM, and he couldn't remember everything that happened, and having a perspective of what happened during it was a almost a year project. So having the perspective, all the steps, what has been done, what were lowlights with some quotation, it was
Yeah.
just fantastic. I use it for I wrote I shouldn't say that, but I wrote a book on Copilot adoption, so it's on Amazon. I wrote it with a researcher, and I curated it because he made some mistakes. But what I did, I said, that was my dream. I said, I wrote so many blog posts on LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
I, I would love to one day create a book,
Right.
write a book. So I said, let's copy paste
I've
all
got the
my
link up
blog
in front
posts.
of me now. I'll make sure I will have the link in. By the way, if anybody's interested in his book, I just found it here. Navigating Success with Microsoft Copilot: A Comprehensive Roadmap.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I copied. Thank you. I copied all my blog posts plus some documents I have internally. I feed the researcher. I said, make a book with some instructions. And obviously, I curated, I added things, I retrieved some things. And now I might have been the first one to publish the book based on with researcher. You know, you can be, some people will think this is a shame. He didn't do it. I didn't see, that's the mindset I have. I didn't see as something that replaces me, because my value was in all my blog posts, and my value was in the way I prompt researcher to build this book.
Yeah.
So it's, you see, the perspective is not different. The way you approach things is your value is in the knowledge you have access to. It's not just the knowledge you built, but because I can use content that coming from different sources,
Yeah.
is the way you're gonna say to Copilot how to structure that. Because I'm not, as I'm French, I'm not 100% fluent in English. I don't have the right words. My grammar has a lot of mistakes, but researcher does a perfect job for that. So let's do him the perfect job. Let's him compile all those documents, all those blog posts. Where is my value? Is to tell Copilot what I want, the way I want to structure it, what is important for the readers, the tone I want to use, the storytelling I want to use. That's where my value is. it's not so much on owning the knowledge, but it's owning the process to understand the knowledge, make it valuable for people. That's a huge difference in the way we were working before.
Yeah, agree. Well, Pierre Yves, really appreciate the time. We need to talk more. I've got some other thoughts and some ideas that I'd like to pick your brain on, but really appreciate your
Whenever.
time. We'll make sure we'll have, of course, all of his contact information and the book link in both the blog post and out on YouTube as well, so people can find it.
And my YouTube, yeah.
Yeah, and your YouTube, of course. We'll get all the socials that are out there. So thanks so much for your time.
That's great, Christian. Thank you. Thank you so much.